Oh, hello. Ori and I were just having an Earth Day party. It's Earth Day! Happy Earth Day, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Here, Ori, we'll put you right there. You can have a seat. My name is Meg. I'm the program manager at Farrington Linc. At Farrington, we're a nonprofit, and we are trying to enhance the lives of children through a connection with the natural world. And today is a great day to do that because it's Earth Day. So we're going to be celebrating the Earth all week with fun activities with nature from home. Today, we're going to be making nature journals, which is one of my favorite activities. But I thought we would get started by talking a little bit about what the weather is like today, how everyone's feeling out there. If you have questions or comments that you want to leave for us, feel free to post that. We also have some Spanish and Portuguese interpreters on the line. So if you're looking for interpretation, feel free to leave us a chat in the comments below. So welcome. It's Wednesday. The sun is sort of out here. It's really windy outside. I tried to go outside earlier to pick up some natural materials for our nature journals, and I was being blown all over the place. My hair was crazy. Sometimes the wind can be very strong. Great. Well, let's get started with our main activity. I thought we would talk a little bit about journals and what we use them for. I can show you an example of what my journal looks like, and I'll show you how to make your own. And then we can read a fun book about things that we can discover during the season of spring, because it's spring. Even though it snowed a couple days ago, still spring. So here is an example of what I made. So it has my name at the top. It says Meg's Nature Journal, and I have a stick for the binding, and I tied it on with some yarn. You can use twine or string or whatever you have lying around. This is just regular computer paper, but any kind of paper will work. Recycled paper, anything that's light enough that you can write on, construction paper. And these are just things that I happen to find around my house. So here's an oak leaf, a seed pod, part of a hazelnut. This is a piece of pottery I found. And this is part of a juniper bush, a juniper branch right here. So those are some examples of what we found. So as you're exploring, maybe in your backyard or at a local park, always make sure that you're being safe as you do that, maintaining 6 feet of distance from other people, making sure that you're not picking up anything that might be sharp or dangerous as we're looking for things to put on our journal. Great. So first thing, we're going to use some paper. I just have 3 sheets of paper because we're going to fold it in half and we'll make twice as many pages. So just going to fold it in half like this, increase it on one side, and then you can see you have a number of pages that you can use to write and draw things in nature. Things that you might put in your journal might be thoughts or feelings, so how being outside makes you feel. Something that I really enjoy is being outside and feeling the sun on my face, on my skin. Makes me feel really happy. Something else that I like around being outside is the sounds that I hear. So maybe sitting out in the morning and hearing bird sounds or hearing the sound of rain falling, I find very calming. So those are things you might notice while you're exploring outside, and you can put those in your journal. All right, we got our bits of paper. Next, we're going to punch some holes in it so we can tie our stick to it and put our yarn through it. I don't have a single hole punch. I just have a 3-hole punch. So we're going to try and make it work. So you're putting your paper into the holes and punching them like so. All right, and we'll get 3 holes in here. And it's okay if the space in between them is a little bit different because you're going to be adjusting it with the string that you're tying. All right, so you went outside, you got some sticks. Maybe your stick looks like this, right? It's a little bit crooked and bent. It's got some other little branches on top. It's kind of long for your book. So if this is the stick, I might break it off around here, and you can use the top part for something else. So it doesn't have to be perfectly straight. Here's another stick that I found, and I think that'll line up nicely. And it's okay that the top and bottom extends a little bit past the edges of the paper. Okay, so now we gotta tie the stick on. It's gonna be the binding of our journal. So I'm gonna use some yarn and some scissors. Be careful out there with scissors. And I'm just gonna be cutting a few inches, not super long. And if you're using any sharp objects, remember, if you need some help, ask for help. I know it is the quarantine times, so sometimes asking for help might seem tricky, but better to be safe. All right, we have 3 pieces of string, so now we're going to attach our stick to our paper. So what you're going to do is take one end of the yarn and you're putting it through the hole. You see that? So that you have a little bit on each side. So let's go ahead and we'll do that for each of the holes. So we have our yarn poking out on both sides here. Perfect. Looking good. Now it's time for the stick. So you're going to line your stick up in between all 3 pieces of the yarn where the holes are. And then you're just going to tie a knot. I just like tying an overhand knot, but any kind of knot will do. If you know some crazy knots, maybe you've taken sailing lessons, maybe you go rock climbing, you know about some cool knots. You can tie fancy knots here. There we go. Excellent. All right. So we've tied our stick to our journal. If you wanted, you could trim these so that the strings aren't hanging down too far. Or you could leave them for decoration, up to you. All right, now the next thing, I would recommend putting your name on it. Let's see, I have some colored pencils here. I'll use a marker and put my name on it. And a little smiley face, Meg! That's me. And now's the fun part. So if you haven't gone outside yet and picked up your natural materials, you can always do that later and glue them on. I went out early today and I picked out some really fun things from around my house. I don't have a park that's super close by, but I have a little front yard and a driveway and a big forsythia bush in the back. So I was able to find a few natural materials to put on our journal. All right, so one thing I found were these. Do you know what kind of flower or bush that those come from? Aren't they pretty? I didn't pick them. No, I didn't just pick them off the bush. These are on the ground, so they had already fallen off. These are from an azalea. Azaleas are sort of smallish bushes. They're a relative of the rhododendron. Rhododendron's a really big, bushy tree type thing that has really pretty flowers. And this azalea bush is in the middle of blooming, so there are all kinds of pink blooms all over it. But some of them fell off. And I thought that would be nice to put on my journal. So I'm just using some school glue. Sometimes tape also works, but I find that glue makes the object stick a little bit better. Yeah, so just putting a little bit of glue on and then gluing those flowers right to the cover. And let's see, what else did we find? These might just look like dead sticks or leaves to you, but I thought these little dried grasses looked really cool. So I think some of these came from something called pokeweed, which can grow really big and tall in your yard. I think we had one that was, I don't know, 6 or 8 feet tall, probably. It was really tall. But these are just some little pieces of the dried pokeweed that they almost look like bamboo to me, kind of like straws. What else did I find? Oh, I found this really cool stick, but I think it's going to be too big for the nature journal, so I'm going to save this for something else. Ooh, and I also found some pine cones, but again, this might be a little bit too big for our nature journals today, so I would stick with smaller later items. I did find we have a little gravel path next to our driveway, and I found these tiny little baby rocks. I really like that black sparkly one. It looks like they're little bits of quartz and mica in it. So larger rocks will probably be harder to glue on, but little baby rocks like these, I think, will be light enough to stick on our cover. And again, if you try something and it doesn't work, that's okay. When you're making crafts and art and working in nature, it's not all going to go perfectly as planned. So sometimes your rocks might fall off, the flowers might wilt, the pokeweed might get too pokey, like poke you in the eye or something. And it's okay. Just take a breath and try again. I like to put at least 4 or 5 different things on my nature journal. Here, I'll put a little bit of juniper on here. And you know what? It's okay if you don't know what the things are that you're picking up. I would just be careful that you're not picking things like things that have a lot of like prickers on them, anything that looks like it'd be super pointy or itchy, poison ivy. If you're not sure what poison ivy looks like, it's got 3 leaves and the leaves tend to be shiny on top. If you're not sure, ask an adult, ask somebody that might know about plants so that you stay safe. So this is the cover of my nature journal. What do you think, Ori? It looks great. Oh, thanks, Ori. No problem. So I'm going to let this dry for a little bit. So if the glue is still wet, you're going to need it to dry. So some things that you might write about or put in your nature journal, I'll give you an example. So here's another type of journal. It doesn't have any fancy cover to it, but it's a place where I like to write my thoughts. Sometimes I paint, sometimes I draw pictures in it. These are just some flowers, some more flowers. I like drawing flowers. And they don't look like specific plants. They don't look like exact replicas or photos of what plants would look like, but it's just nice to have a space that you can be creative. So here, this is an example of what I wrote the end of March. I put the date so I can remember when I wrote it, and I said, today I felt the sun on my face. It made me feel calm, and here is a leaf I found. And there's a little drawing of a leaf that I found on that day. So that's just one example of what you might do with your nature journal. It could also be just a place where you doodle and draw natural objects. It could be, you could make it really technical and you could write down the type of weather, the season, different animals, Maybe you go out and observe what the sunrise or sunset looks like each day. You can even use these at night. I think one of our partner programs did a nighttime stargazing type of journal recently, which is pretty cool, as long as the weather's good. If it's cloudy or raining, it's going to be hard to see the stars. So another thing that I like to do in my journal, it's called contour drawing. What's contour drawing? Glad you asked. So really what it is just drawing using the outline shape of an object. So some people, grab a pencil here. Some people might do contour drawing. Let's find a pencil that has a point. By just kind of tracing the outline shape of something. So if you wanted to do a contour of your hand, you could just trace around your hand. You could also do what's called blind contour drawing. So it's where you're looking at whatever the object is. Perhaps it's Ori. Maybe you want to draw Ori. So instead of going back and forth between looking at the bird and looking at your paper, you would just softly gaze at Ori, take in what his shape looks like, his beak, his eyes, and without taking the pencil up and down off the paper, you would just kind of draw the basic shape of him and some feathers and some feet. And we'll look at our picture and it looks kind of like a mixed up bird. It looks kind of silly. The feet are kind of in his belly there. And I forgot an eyeball, but that's okay. It's just a way for you to quickly sketch something just to get an idea of what kind of things are out there in nature. What do you think, Ori? How's it look? I've seen better, but it looks okay. I think you need practice. You know what? And that's a good point, Ori. The more you do something, the more you practice it, the better you'll get. So if it's drawing, or if it's remembering to recycle, or even if it's remembering to like use your words and be kind, the more we do it, the more naturally it will come to us and the easier it will be. Great. I feel really good about these nature journals. How do you feel? What are things that you might want to write about or draw in your nature journals at home? Do any of you keep a journal? Ori, do you keep a journal? I do. Oh, who knew? Ori the bird keeps a journal. Well, so I think now, Ori, stand back up. I think we'll read a book. I picked out a book about spring, and it's all about things that you would observe and hear and feel as the spring season is beginning. And I thought it might be a nice way to remind you of some things that you can write about in your nature journals. You ready? Let's do it. Let me grab it. Ori, can you tell our fans a joke? A bird joke. Well, I don't. Knock knock. Who's there, Ori? Banana. Banana who? Banana's Foster. I don't get that joke, Ori, but thank you for entertaining the fans out there. Great. So here is a book. It's called Spring Surprises by Anna Jane Hayes and illustrated by Hala Whitwer Swearingston. Spring Surprises. Wake up, wake up! Spring is here, calling us outside. Frosty winter, say goodbye. Hello, blue sky, where birds fly high and clouds puff by. I hope spring is here to stay. The groundhog has come up to stay. The bear cub has come out to play. Welcome sunshine, warm our cheeks, melt the snow and fill the creeks. Welcome wind, come fly our kites. Greet longer days and shorter nights. Today would be a good day to fly a kite, I think. It is very windy. And look, these look like robins to me. Dance with raindrops in spring showers. Watch buds open into flowers. It was really rainy last night. If you lived around Boston, got a lot of rain. Come discover spring's surprises. Pick and smell the pretty prizes. Make mud pies to bake on rocks. Make dollies out of hollyhocks. You ever made dollies out of hollyhocks? Do you know what those are? So it's these types of flowers that grow up really, really tall. And when the little flowers drop off, the little top part looks like a little like the little head part of a doll, and then the little petals look like the skirt or the dress. We used to have hollyhocks at my house. In the pond, count pollywogs. Watch them all turn into frogs. See the duckling learn to swim. Mother duck is proud of him. Ooh, pollywogs. We have a lot of frogs at our pond in Farrington, and I wonder what they look like now, if they're still under the mud or if they're swimming about. Look up, what's in the nest? Climb up and peek. Hop like bunnies, hide and seek. Robins bathe in a puddle. Little mouse has to scuttle. Oh, do you see the little bunnies hopping? Did anybody watch my bunny the other day? My bunny's name is Eleanor. She's not an outside bunny, she's an inside bunny. Hello, yellow baby chicks, calf that licks, kid that kicks. Welcome, woolly little lamb. You are all part of spring's grand plan. A kid is the name of a baby goat. It's not an actual kid who's kicking, just to clarify. The sun stays up so we can play until late in this spring day. When stars pop out in the night sky, spring sings a loving lullaby. Bullfrogs croak, owls hoo-hoo, and that is all this day can do. The end. That was fun. So that was a fun book about some of the things that you might hear and see as you're out exploring nature. Have you ever just listened late at night and heard an owl hooting? Hoo-hoo. Or maybe when you're out for a walk with your family, you've heard birds or seen birds flying around. I know we have a lot of cardinals around our house here in Saugus. Cardinals are those bright red birds, or the male cardinals are the bright red ones, and then the female cardinals, they have a bright orange beak, but mostly brown feathers. They look a little bit different. But we have a lot of them. And we've been seeing hawks around, I think because there are fewer people on the roads and traveling, that there are more birds and wildlife exploring our habitat. Well, we're almost out of time, but wanted to leave time for questions or comments. If anyone has ever made a journal before or has been outside recently exploring something that they'd like to share, feel free. We'll be doing more of these activities all week, so you can tune in tomorrow. Let's see, tomorrow's Thursday, so there'll be activities at 11 and 2 o'clock. And again on Friday at 11 and 2 as well. So if you're enjoying these, I hope you are able to get outside safely I hope you are able to take a few minutes and listen to the birds, or take a nice walk and take some deep breaths. I hope you were able to tune in earlier and make signs with Sarah. Ooh, actually, I can show you the sign that I made. Come on over, or I can bring it to you. Whoop, and we're coming over. Okay. So I used some recycled materials, and I put a quote that I really liked. So it says, "What you do makes a difference, and you have to decide what kind of difference you want to make." And that was written by Jane Goodall. She's a anthropologist. She's famous for working with chimpanzees, making connections between chimps and humans. And then I put some decorations on. Here are some egg curtain holders that I added, and a little picture of stars, mountains, some rock climbing because I love rock climbing. Here's a pretty bird, and some cherries. It's the type of seltzer I really like. It's this like lime cherry flavor. Delicious. Um, anyway,
Hey, Meg.
yeah,
Thanks for
what's up?
sharing your sign. I have a question before you go.
Of course, yes.
You know how Ori said that he keeps a journal? What do you
Yes.
think Ori writes about in his journal?
Ooh, that's a great question. Let's ask Ori. Hey, Ori, the fans want to know, what kind of things do you write about in your bird journal? Well, that's a great question, Meg. Thank you. It came from Sarah, but thank you. I like to write about worms, bugs that I find. I like to write about an interesting piece of stick or some moss that I've found. Oh, that's cool, Ori. I also like to write about other birds that I meet. I met a goldfinch the other day. A goldfinch, really? What color was it? It was bright yellow, just like the name suggests. So that's great, Ori. I like to hear that you're meeting other birds and keeping a journal and writing down things that make you happy. Oh yeah, right. Keeping a journal is a great way to remind yourself of what makes you happy. Well, great. Thanks, Ori. We'll check in, see if there are any other questions or comments before we sign off today. If you are enjoying this series, feel free to leave us a note. Let us know if there is a topic that you would like to learn more about. You can also let us know. Comment on our Facebook page, make a comment on our YouTube page, shoot us a chat on our Zoom page. Yeah, it's been great celebrating Earth Day with all of you. So thanks for tuning in. Thanks from Farrington Nature Linc in our Nature at Home series, and we'll see you next time. All right, bye.